Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withis,
Yes.
Berg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 5 is a public hearing.
A public hearing to consider a request from First Assembly of God to relocate a portable classroom from 3800 11th Avenue Southeast to 1805 2nd Street Southeast, also known as South Park Terrace, 2nd Edition. This is Public Works and Safety Committee item number 4.
Is there anyone in the audience that cares to comment on this public hearing? Anybody in the audience care to comment? Any comments? Alderman Franzfog?
Mr. Mayor, I move we close the public hearing and approve the request.
Second.
Seconded by Olson. Any discussion amongst the council? Discussion? Call the roll.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Cosin,
Yes.
Lehner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shimento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withis,
Yes.
Berg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 6 is another public hearing.
A public hearing to obtain citizen views on the proposed 2017 budget. It's recommended the council pass and adopt the 2017 budget ordinance on second reading, reflecting a total budget of $192,986,855 and a mill levy of 79.26 mills for $17,871,719.
Is there anybody in the audience that cares to speak to the 2017 budget? Anybody care to comment? Last time. A motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd move we move the item and close the public hearing.
Second.
Seconded by Janser. Discussion amongst the council members? Discussion? Call the roll.
Lehner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shimento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withis,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Cosin.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 7 is another public hearing.
A public hearing to consider approval of an application for a zone project filed by Corridor Investors LLC for a 5-year property tax exemption, including improvements, and a 5-year business investment income tax exemption to renovate a building at 1 Main Street North, also known as Original Minot Addition Lot 15, except north 8 inches, and all of Lot 16, Block 20. This is Renaissance Zone Board item number 1.
Is there anybody in the audience that cares to comment on this public hearing? Anybody in the audience on this public hearing? Third time. Anybody in the audience?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Janser?
Mr. Mayor, I move we close the public hearing and approve the item.
Seconded by Lehner. Discussion amongst the council? Discussion? Call the roll.
Janser,
Yes.
Cosin,
Yes.
Lehner,
yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
No.
Shimento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withis,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 8 is another public hearing.
A public hearing to obtain citizen views and to respond to proposals and questions related to the performance of the City of Minot in carrying out its community development responsibilities for Sunset Ridge low-income housing land purchase.
Is there anybody in the audience that cares to comment on this public hearing? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. State your name and address for the record, please. Yes, up to the podium. Otherwise, the people that are listening in can't hear your comments.
Good evening. My name is Doug Fowler. I'm a property supervisor at IMM. I'm also the, the president of MCAA, the Magic City Apartment Association, since November of 2012. I'm here to provide some information and facts so an informed, educated decision can be made regarding the need or lack thereof additional affordable housing in Minot. IMM currently manages one income-based property. It's called Kenwood on Fifth. It's up in the northwest part of Minot. And it's a 50-unit complex. 25 of these units are income-based. Of the 25, 20 of them are currently occupied. And they're occupied by 15 military personnel. Normally, military members do not qualify for income-based housing, but due to the lack of lease-up and the extended lease-up of this property, we received a waiver from the North Dakota Housing Finance Agency. So there would be approximately 6 or 7 of those 25 income-based occupied units if we wanted to receive that waiver. Here's some additional information on another income-based property just recently constructed. It's the Willows in Burlington. This is a 40-unit complex in Burlington, and we were told recently by the city of Burlington that 8 of them are occupied. Beyond Shelter is a affordable housing business out of Fargo, North Dakota. They constructed this 40-unit building for $5.1 million, and they ended up being short $200,000, which the county commissioners had to put in that additional $200,000. Simple math is that this equates to approximately $127,000 per unit, well above the construction cost, the current of $90,000 to $100,000, and this $90,000 to $100,000 per unit has actually went down in light of the economic conditions in Minot. The current vacancy rate, according to the Magic City Apartment Association, via the September vacancy report, is about 10%. This was from 6,100 units of the estimated 9,200 units in the city of Minot reporting. This does not reflect the Minot Housing Authority's vacancy percent. We don't know that. Estimates are of 15 to 18% vacancy in the city have been reported on the 3,000 units that we did not receive numbers on. I have Minot Housing Authority's most recent payment standards based on income. They allow $805, and this is including utilities, for a one-bedroom apartment. $1,077 for a two-bedroom apartment, and $1,559 for a three-bedroom. I only can speak for the company I work for, but there's not a vacant apartment in our portfolio that wouldn't qualify for a voucher payment from the MHA. Every one of ours are below this number. So I only hope that the board considers all facts, and I can provide more facts, especially about the Fargo-based company when deciding to proceed with the proposed land purchase, Phase 2 of Sunset Ridge. So, thank you.
Wait a minute, Mr. Fall? Hold up. Are there any questions for Mr. Fall? Any questions? Mr. Shimano?
Did I hear you say that there's only a 10% vacancy rate in this town?
Well, that's that's the September report. Now, we only received 61 reports on 6,100 of the estimated 9,200. So one can speculate what the open units are of the remaining 3,000. So we've got information from talking with other professionals in the business that this is, there's additional 1,000 units, so open units of those 3,000 units that didn't report. So that would bring the current vacancy 15, 16 up to 18%.
If I can add to that, not all of the apartment owners in the community participate in that survey.
Correct. Yes.
So for whatever reason, personal reasons of not declaring what their own personal businesses are doing. So I think that's what Mr. Fowle is alluding to, is that that number is probably much higher than the 10% that the association is
We
reporting.
believe that's true, yes.
Well, that
I'm going to go to Shimano, and then I'll come to Hedberg.
the economy at a glance that I read, I think monthly that I get, shows at least 45% vacancies. And it has
No,
for-
it's not that high. That might be that high in Williston. They have 10,003 apartments, about 5,000 of them occupied, so, but that's
No,
not,
they're both.
that's not my numbers, no.
Mr. Hedberg?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Doug, the 3,000 that were not reported, who's not reporting? Did you say Minot Housing?
These are property owners, management companies that do not belong to the Magic City Apartment Association. So obviously, that's been one of our goals and focus to get those additional companies to be a part of the Magic City Apartment Association so we can provide bankers and developers and other people in the business credible, reliable, factual information.
And was one of those Minot Housing Authority, you said?
It is, yep, but we're in the process of getting them to join, and I just recently visited with them, and they're going to join, so we're going to have those numbers in the very near future.
Ms. Hemphill?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the City of Minot, with their Community Development Block Grant National Disaster Resilient Funds, have commissioned an affordable housing study, and we have been working on this now for a period of time, and we have sent out surveys, and we've gotten what we feel is pretty good data back, and we have a vacancy rate of about 17%. Our study is not done. It should be done before the end of this year, and I believe it will have some very valuable information on where we stand as far as vacancy rates, affordable housing, because we always have to remember, just because housing is available doesn't necessarily mean it's affordable. It has to be offered long-term affordable to qualify for affordable under certain guidelines. So, So just wanted to bring that to the attention of the council, that there will be a study out that we've commissioned that hopefully will provide much more accurate and complete data based on some surveys, knocking on doors, and that type of thing that we've done.
Any other?
I'll just add one additional thing to what she said. The definition of affordable is debatable, but that number actually has increased with the lowered rents in the city of Minot since October of 2014, when oil dropped below $100 a barrel.
Any other questions from Mr. Fowle?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Padragula.
Yeah, so I guess I want to make sure I understand this. Are you kind of implying that we might want to be a little careful about publicly sponsored, publicly financed housing, given a lot of vacancies? And number two, are you also saying that maybe we should scrutinize developers perhaps a little bit more carefully because the prices they're quoting to build seem a little bit higher than the competitive marketplace actually is showing?
Well, one can surmise that, but my intent, and Magic City Apartment Association, their intent is to provide the correct information so those correct decisions can be made for additional income-based housing. That, obviously, we have feelings and thoughts about it and beliefs, but we want to present the board with the facts so they can make those informed, educated decisions.
But am I correct in kind of reading between the lines of what you're saying?
Yes, you are.
Thank you. And that matches my own impressionistic data when I was going electioning and going door to door in my ward. A lot of empty apartments, but as our acting city manager points out, just because it's empty doesn't mean it's affordable. So that's going to be a very interesting question, I think.
Any other questions, Mr. Fowle? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to comment on this issue? Yes, sir. Mr. Watney.
Hi, my name is Matt Watney. I'm a local property manager and realtor. Mayor Barney and honorable council members, I'm not against helping people achieve the American dream of affordable housing, but as a realtor, I'm completely in favor of that specific dream, but I think that this land trust is misdirected and not a good use of taxpayers' money for several reasons. One, we're overbuilt in the city of Minot. We're definitely overbuilt on apartments, The vacancy numbers show that. And certainly, when you talk about affordable and available, we're overbuilt on affordable and low-income housing as well. How it works is there's a pot of money that the federal government gives to assist people with rents in a community. So right now, if you were to ask Minot Housing Authority, do you have anybody on the waiting list? Yes, hundreds. There's hundreds of people on the waiting list. But there's only so much federal money to help those individuals. So you'll always have these people on the waiting list. Meanwhile, what have we done with affordable housing? Well, there was certainly a shortage when the flood came, and when there became a shortage of housing, and then with the flood, a crisis of affordable housing, to where a lot of people that are on assistance were losing their rental homes because the prices were going up faster than the vouchers were going up. But now that's not the case. The rents have come down. As Doug explained before, now a single mother with a child would qualify for a two-bedroom apartment at $1,077, which gets her a brand-new home. Think about that, a brand-new home with a garage, a washer and dryer in the unit, an AC unit in the unit. Pretty nice home. And we've built a lot of low-income properties in Minot. Prior to the flood, there weren't any built for nearly 10 years. There were nearly nothing built as far as affordable, either through the low-income housing tax credit program, and prior to that, the Section 8. And once the Bakken, the oil boom came, the Housing Incentive Fund. So up until 2011, there was really nothing built in Minot. But since 2011, there's been a lot of units built, a lot of them, and they can't fill them. There's not enough money in the vouchers. You can't fill them all. So like Doug explained out at the Willows, they got 40 units out there with 8 units occupied. You talk to some of the other providers of low income, they can't fill all the units. There's not enough people. There's not enough bodies to fill it. And meanwhile, there's not enough bodies to fill the other apartments, not getting into the subsidized housing. So it would be not wise use of taxpayers' money to go out and build yet another avenue for people to go out and get into housing with taxpayers' money. And with people that would have zero down, potentially zero down. Am I right about that? Can I ask that question? What are the qualifications for somebody who would be able to buy a house that's on this land trust?
This isn't part of the land trust, though, I don't believe.
Oh, okay. It isn't.
Right?
This item that's on the public hearing is not part of the Minot Area Community Land Trust. It's a public hearing for Sunset Ridge 2, I believe, and that's a low-income.
Okay, so the same facts go to both this low income on additional housing in Sunset Ridge as would the land trust, quite honestly. It relates to both. The fact is, it's use of taxpayers' money to go build yet more housing to help people low income be able to get into housing. So, number one, we're overbuilt in the city. We're taking people out of apartments, putting them into houses that they can ill afford. That's the land trust. And at the time the land trust idea was conceptualized, and I'm sorry if I'm going on about the land trust, are we going to be talking about that tonight? When is the discussion on that?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, the land trust was incorporated in January of 2012. It is up, running, and functioning, and I don't believe that there's any issues that will be coming in front of this body in any near term. Okay,
so getting back to Sunset Ridge. So we've been overbuilt in the city of Minot with the low-income housing. Sunset Ridge 1, are they completely filled? Can you answer that?
Mr. Watney,
Yes?
I don't think anyone in the city is disputing that the apartments are overbuilt.
Okay,
I mean, I think we can concede that issue.
okay.
And I think we can also concede that the rent rates have plummeted. I think everybody in the community is aware of that. I think also you made a very good point that just because the housing authority is authorizing this particular dollar value for different types of apartments, that doesn't mean those people are going to get it. Because there's a shortage of federal funds and there's a surplus of people that are applying for them. So they usually do a prorated amount for the applicants that come in.
I understand. So, anyway, getting back to Sunset Ridge, I think that we're overbuilt on low-income housing in the city of Minot.
Okay? Any questions for Mr. Watney? Thank you,
Thank you.
sir. Anybody else care to comment on this public hearing? Anybody else? Okay, I'm in line for a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Franzfog,
move we close the public hearing.
Second.
seconded by Hedberg. Discussion amongst the council? Discussion? Call the roll.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Kosen,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shimento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withus,
Yes.
Berg.
Yes.
Motion carries. Item number 9 is personal appearances. I know we have a number of people in the audience that care to speak to this. Personal appearances, who wants to go first? Yes. Your name and address to the record, please.
Katie Harsager, 1622 14th Avenue Southwest, Minot, North Dakota.
Representing,
Enbridge Pipelines today.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'll keep this quick, knowing there's others there. Really, I'm just here in an introductory capacity, just to share with you guys some information in front of you. I know we have some new council members since the last time Enbridge has probably approached the council, just in an information purpose. So there's a pamphlet in front of you that shows Enbridge's assets. We originated actually in the Minot area in 1962 under Portal Pipeline, and Enbridge purchased that system in 1996. And we've been operating in Minot since then. We've got about a little over 100 employees in the Minot area across 3 different locations here in town. And our station right now is located just north of the fairgrounds. I'll keep this pretty quick. I guess we've been operating in the area for a long time. We've operated a 16-inch crude oil pipeline. We move about 216,000 barrels per day through our Line 81 that operates through here in Minot. And other than that, really just taking an opportunity to introduce myself to those who are new on the council, and if they have any questions for Enbridge in any capacity, as you serve on council, that you're welcome to give us a call, and all of our information is on the back of that pamphlet. Otherwise, if there's any questions for myself as a representative for Enbridge, I operate as the community relations advisor.
Any questions for Ms. Harsager? Thank you.
Thank you.
Who else wants to speak at personal appearances? Yes, your name and address to the record, please.
My name is Sarah Bloom. I live at 511 South Main Street.
Okay.
And I'm here to ask City Council to consider approving an ordinance that would allow Minot residents to have up to 3 hens, backyard hens. And I'm here to say, too, that I think hens fit well in city life. 93 out of 100 of the largest populated cities in the United States allow city hens, and hundreds of other smaller cities do as well. Minot actually allowed city hens until 1984. I have talked to 4 animal control agencies that do allow hens, and some of the comments they made to me were the calls, complaint calls for hens are few and far between. I can't remember the last time we had a call. Hens are no big deal. Not many calls. Hens are the least of our worries. And I'll give you some statistics, but keep in mind that Minot is a city of 46,000 people, and all the cities I'm going to talk about have a much larger population. Pam Weiss from the Humane Society in Omaha, Nebraska. They serve a metropolitan population of 900,000 people. They have about 24,000 calls made into them in a year. And only 22 calls out of those 24,000 calls were about hens. That's 1 in 1,000 calls about. Tom Stinchfield is an animal control supervisor from Billings, Montana. Billings, Montana has a population of 157,000 people, and they get 2 to 3 calls a year. Steve Beal, from animal control supervisor from Lincoln, Nebraska. Lincoln, Nebraska has a population of 277,000 people, and they get 3 to 5 calls a year. Julie DeJong, animal control supervisor from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Sioux Falls has a population of 154,000, and she says they get less than 10 a year. There are many concerns about hens in the city, including health and safety of the residents and for the hens. And I can tell you, I'm a mom of 5 kids, and I wouldn't allow anything in my backyard that would harm my kids. In fact, I think hens will improve the health of my family because they give more nutritious eggs, scientifically proven, than your factory farm eggs. They give you fertilizer for your garden so you can have bigger, more healthier vegetables. Hens give you companionship, a new knowledge base, and they teach kids about responsibility. I talked to Jim Heckman, the Director of Environmental Health, and he said there were no safety or health issues to have about hens. And I just want to say that hens in the city is a very modern idea, but it is also a very old-fashioned idea. And I think that Minot can get with the times and get in touch with their heritage.
Any questions for Ms. Bloom? Any questions?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Straight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Bloom, I appreciate you showing the courage to stand up for what you believe in, and regardless of what happens with this body tonight, I encourage you to continue educating us, pushing the issue. Sometimes when you're passionate about something, it doesn't necessarily go right away, and I commend you for standing up for something you believe in, and and I appreciate you, in particular, based on a conversation I had with you at Public Works last month, that you've reached out to Mr. Heckman. We received that email and correspondence from him today, so thanks for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Ms. Bloom? Okay, anybody else in the audience care to comment to Ms. Bloom's issue? Yes, sir, come forward. Your name and address, please.
Yes, my name is Jeff Dunn. I live at 708 30th Avenue Northwest since August of '98. At one point in time, we had chickens up there. Obviously, that was after they were banned from the city. We didn't know at that time. We had them until early 2004. We never had the police up to our place against any type of complaint. The chickens were great pets. We've had any number up to about 15. We have had roosters, and while we have had all this, that doesn't mean that that's what I think the city should do. I do think that 3 or 4 is a very reasonable number of hens. Hens are definitely quieter than roosters. Roosters, you get good ones, you get bad ones. I don't think dogs and cats are for everybody. My chickens were definitely quieter than most people's dogs, cats, and kids. I have trapped 3 cats out of my yard this year. I have chased dogs out of my yard. My chickens would generally, they stayed within our 4-foot chain link fence, which we had for our dogs. We would let them out occasionally into the yard, especially during grasshopper season. And then when you wanted to put them back, you just basically herded them like you do cows. You just go out there like this, and you could get them to go right back in through the gate without a problem. They knew their names. Most of them enjoyed actually being picked up and petted. They were comforting. I think the city would do well to take this under advisement and maybe change this back. I don't think what you're going to find is that people are going to be raising 3 or 4 broilers to slaughter. Most pet chickens are very cute and small, and if you get the banties, the eggs are so small it takes a dozen of them to make a meal. But I would be happy to answer anybody's questions if they were
Any questions for Mr. Dunn? Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Samantha Bice. I live at 813 18th Avenue Southeast, number 403. I want to share my personal experience as a former chicken owner. Before I lived in Minot, I lived in a city which allowed backyard hens. And I get harebrained ideas and decided that chickens would be my next project, and my husband did not argue with me. I had a flock of 6 hens, and my mother had 4 hens. I bought the hens, raised them as chicks, and then gave her 4 hens. Our hens were like pets, truly. Pets with benefits, though. Eggs are definitely the primary benefit. As Sarah mentioned, the eggs are scientifically proven to be more nutritious. And not only that, but they are, I would say, pretty free, because hens, when they're allowed to get into the backyard, will eat bugs, will eat grass, and my feed costs were extremely low. And speaking to that on a very personal note, when we decided to move to Minot, we had hit an absolute financial low point. The city that we lived in was economically devastated, and my husband decided to go to Minot ahead of us, ahead of me and my child, to find work here and to make a better life for us. While he was gone, I depended on my chickens 100% sometimes for our food. We knew that even though things were rough, I had my chickens, they were going to give me eggs, and me and my son could have nutritious food between the chickens and my parents' garden. I think that that's sometimes overlooked as this being kind of a hippie or middle income kind of interesting, fun project idea, but for me it became a very real need. And actually in the history of our country and all over the world, that is the true purpose that hens serve in cities. Up until, you know, the 50s, that was the case in America. Everybody pretty much had hens, or their neighbors had hens, and they all helped each other out when times were rough. Aside from eggs being a benefit, I also felt it was a very valuable lesson for my children and also the children of my neighbors. We had considerably less pests, especially for our garden. They eat mosquitoes, ticks, slugs, grasshoppers, anything that you don't want to come in your house. The chickens will eat it before it even makes it to the door. No kitchen scraps ever went to waste because chickens will eat just about anything. So I was creating less waste for our city landfills, and it makes great fertilizer for your garden when you clean out your coop. I composted it in a small spot in my yard, gave it to my parents as fertilizer for their garden, and they had the biggest vegetables ever that year. I also feel it's a very good way to be good stewards of whatever small amount of land that we are given, even if it's just our backyard. It's very akin to having a garden, that we are taking care of the land that we're given and using it for more than ornamental purposes. Typical problems that people think are going to come up with chickens, I'd like to kind of debunk with my experience. A lot of people are worried about noise. If you don't allow roosters, you really don't have much noise. And most cities have in their ordinances that you are not allowed to have roosters for obvious reasons. They are very loud. You still get plenty of eggs if you do not have a rooster. Chickens typically will do soft clucking and maybe a little singing when they lay their eggs. And other than that, they're very quiet. And at night, they're completely quiet. They go in their coop, they go to sleep. You don't hear from them till morning, much unlike neighborhood dogs, I might add. People sometimes worry about the smell. I did not have any smell for my hens or my coop or my yard. You keep it clean. Again, that can be part of the ordinance. Just like with any animal, you keep their environment clean and healthy or the animal gets taken away. Like I said, I composted all of the waste matter that came out of their coop, and I mean, it gets used again. So I wasn't even creating any real trash other than my feed bags. Predators are sometimes a concern that people will bring up. The most common city predator you're going to run into for chickens are raccoons. Raccoons are already in the city, regardless of if we have chickens, because they like garbage. So you're going to have raccoons here in Minot anyway. Very simple way to keep away hawks or raccoons or anything else that might want to get at your chickens is just to have a well-built coop. Because truly, predators are more of a nuisance for the chicken owner than anyone else, because then you lose valuable chickens that not only give you eggs, but you've most likely come to have love and affection for. And vermin. I never had any vermin in relation to having my chickens. Some people worry that feed is going to bring in mice or rats. I kept mine in a locked, like, hardware store bucket with the very heavy lid. I never had anything try to get into the feed. You know, but I have caught raccoons or possums trying to eat cat food off the porch when I was younger. So I think that anytime you have animals, there's a possibility of something trying to get their food, but it's not an issue that's going to be specific to chickens. There are, as Sarah mentioned, lots of cities that allow chickens. Cities as large as New York City allow chickens. And obviously, these people are dealing with a much larger population and a much smaller area for people to keep their chickens in. And they still have these programs up and running. Seattle actually just increased their chicken allowance from 3 to 8. So obviously, their program is going very well. Most of these places have much more limited space, as I mentioned, because they're urban, and they also have less of a farming culture. If there's anything I've learned, being in Minot and being in the Midwest, you have a farming culture here, and it is a beautiful thing. People are much more in touch with where our food comes from, and I think that allowing hens into our backyards would be a way to get back in touch with those roots. That's all I have.
Any questions for Ms. Bice? Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else with new information? New information? Your name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Hoverson, 9950 Highway 52 North. I'll just speak in support of, they did a fine job. Not really a lot of new information, so just want to be a supportive voice for what they're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Linda Olson. My address is 2 11th Avenue Northwest. I know that one of the concerns that councilmen have been talking about is salmonella, and I would like to say that animals known to commonly spread salmonella to humans include horses, cats, dogs, small mammals like hedgehogs, rodents, mice, rats, hamsters, and guinea pigs, other birds, parrots, parakeets, and wild birds, poultry, chicks, chickens, ducks, ducklings, geese, and turkeys, amphibians, frogs and toads, reptiles, turtles, lizards, and snakes. We don't regulate these in our city, aside from the farm animals, the big animals. So I think that it's erroneous to think that we should, for that reason, not have backyard hens. So you can get things from dogs and cats like ringworm, hookworm, giardia, and so on. But the CDC does not advise against handling dogs and cats. 40,000 people per year are exposed to rabies from their dogs and cats, and only about 60 salmonella related to poultry. The truth is that data shows small-scale farming actually helps protect us and our food supply. When it comes to things like the bird flu, it's the big producers that get the bird flu, not the little backyard producers. Chickens are fun-friendly pets. We've heard that. They provide food security. They lay healthier eggs. They give gardeners high-quality fertilizer. They control flies and other pests. They don't add to them. They dispose of weeds and chicken scraps or kitchen scraps that otherwise would end up in our landfill. So they are bargain basement, backyard city workers. In fact, in Belgium, one city is actually giving 3 laying hens to 2,000 homes in an effort to reduce their landfill costs. A single chicken can biorecycle about 7 pounds of food residuals in a month. If just 2,000 households raise 3 hens, it could divert 252 tons of waste from landfills annually. So they are your backyard organic exterminators, they are soil savers, and they help protect heritage breeds from extinction. They also are a very good antidepressant, as we have heard. So, let's see.
Okay.
What else do I need to tell you?
Any questions for Ms. Olson? Anything else? Ms.
I would
Olson?
like to just add that we have already in our city limits an overwhelming number of geese, turkeys, and a few pheasants. And if they're not bringing predators, I wish they were, because there's way too many. I would also say that my brother lives in Kirkland, a suburb of Seattle. He has had chickens for as long as he's lived there, many years, 25 years probably now. And he has a very nice coop in his backyard, and they've had 3 pet chickens forever, and they are indeed pet chickens. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Anybody else? We're going to be wrapping this up pretty soon, but come on up, your name and your address for the record, please.
My name is Sherry Heilman. I'm at 204 21st Street Northwest. And I just want to say that I've talked to my neighbors. I know that a concern is what will the neighbors think? And I've talked to my neighbors, and they're not opposed to me, and they know me pretty well, and they know I like to garden, and I like to give away produce. And so they're probably thinking she'll give us some of those eggs too. So, but they're among the finest people I know, having gone through the flood with me, and they were not opposed to it.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Your name and address for the record, please.
Bobby Roberts, 1217 7th Avenue Northeast. There's a lot of the positive aspects, but there was a saying that I heard a while back is before you tear down a wall, it's always a good idea to remember why it was built up. I don't know exactly what the reasons were when it was originally installed because I wasn't here in '84, like the individual stated. I do know that places like San Antonio are overrun with loose chickens, and they actually go in various portions of the city with about 10 to 15 people to try and round them up. They don't always get all of them, and that's why they have to keep coming back every year. I also know that while she says the smaller birds and stuff don't actually bring in predators, we do have coyotes that do come through periodically through the center of town. And it's not just 1 or 2. I've probably, if I looked it up, but I think we're up about 4 or 5 so far this year. There are other little things that you don't always hear about in the news locally, but looking at a chicken right off the top, you don't always tell just by looking at the crop or the crown whether it is a male or female. A lot of times, if you don't know what you're doing, you end up with a lot of roosters and not a lot of hens. A couple of times I have actually picked up a couple of chickens that were outside the yard of a person who had them in town illegally. They're not exactly the quickest and easiest thing to catch. While they do state there are cats and dogs running around town, that's not because of a lack of laws prohibiting them. It's because a lot of people don't take care of them and put them where they're supposed to be. There are laws in effect to keep them from running at large. People don't pay attention to them. I don't entirely see that changing with chickens, mainly because I've had to pick up a few. There are, like I said, other things that we don't have to deal with specifically in the city of Minot because of the prohibition. One of them is cockfights. We don't have to worry about somebody storing a chicken and saying it's a hen, and then later finding out they're trying to run a small cockfighting thing because right now they're prohibited. We don't even have to worry about it. If there's a chicken in town, we just tell them to remove it. There are other things that are constitutionally, believe it or not, allowed. You can actually sacrifice animals in the U.S. It's actually upheld by the federal Supreme Court. We don't even have to worry about that because all the animals that normally are under those kind of circumstances are prohibited within the city of Minot.
Any questions for Mr. Roberts? Any questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anybody else care to talk about chickens? Anybody else? Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Sorry.
I live at 1116 2nd Street Southeast. My name's Jamie Allen, or Vettel. I just want to say that if you do happen to get a rooster, there are many farmers that will take your rooster. They'll adopt them, so you don't have to worry about them at all. And also, when you have chickens running around, do you think that they're going to survive the winters without actual adequate shelters? So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Olson.
I would like to offer a motion related to this. After Ms. Bloom presented to Public Works, I did a great deal of research based on what she had said and looked at other cities that have ordinances allowing chickens. And so I feel that the ordinance that would best fit our setting is out of Billings. So my motion would be to direct our city attorney to create an ordinance based on the Billings, Montana hen ordinance, and then present it to us next month through Public Works and bring it back to us for a vote.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Who did that? I'm sorry. Alderman Straight.
And Mr. Mayor, if I could
Alderman
add
Olson.
a few things that would be in the Billings ordinance, would be allowing 3 hens. They actually give the scientific name, Gallus domesticus. In it, the chickens must be kept on a single-family parcel with a fully fenced backyard. Chickens must be kept in a covered predator-proof chicken coop that is fully ventilated, which allows at least 2 square feet of room per hen. The hens must be in the coop from sunset to sunrise. During daylight hours, hens may have access to an outdoor enclosure as long as it is not a nuisance to the neighboring properties. Coops must be cleaned daily to avoid noxious odors. Hens must be kept in the backyard. No slaughtering of hens is allowed within view of neighboring properties.
Okay. Discussion on the motion to direct the city attorney to craft an ordinance for consideration at next month's Public Works meeting. Alderman Sitma.
We should also, if we're going to go down this road, take a look at what the plan of action is for hens after their time of laying eggs are done. With that lifespan growing up around chickens, typically 3 years or so is that lifespan for laying eggs, and they can live anywhere up to 10 years. So I would like to see some sort of plan of action on what is to become of the chickens, again, if we're going down this road, after they're done producing those eggs, seeing as we have an ordinance which prevents them from being slaughtered in city limits.
Okay. Alderman Straight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that, Alderman Sitman. Some of the research that we did looks at the permitting of this, and I think within that ordinance and the permitting, it should probably be an understanding that the neighbors have to agree to this. That seems to make sense. 2 to 3 neighbors. I don't think that's unreasonable. And then we would also have to talk about the permitting cost. I don't know what they had in Billings, but we had $25, I think I saw in Minneapolis, and so we'll have some of those things to look at as well.
Okay. Somebody, Alderman Colson.
I would recommend some form of progressive discipline for not following the ordinance, perhaps, if it could be drafted. It just seems pertinent that, ultimately permit revocation would be, I think, a really good final straw to that as well.
Alderman Lehner.
Well, I guess I'm going to be the one that spoils the party, but I appreciate all the information that everybody sent, the letters that we've got. I've gotten links from health departments and everybody else, but yet I get out and about, even though I'm old and decrepit, and I have yet to have any citizen contact me and say I'm in favor of chickens, other than probably the group sitting down in front of me. Most of them are not in favor of them. I was raised around chickens in my young life, and I have had, I guess I know what's entailed with them, but I'm afraid I will not be able to support this motion.
Any other discussion? Alderman Padragula.
Yeah, just kind of to follow up on Alderman Lehner, I certainly appreciate the good intentions of the people and the effort they put into pushing for this. I grew up around a lot of farm animals, and I think I can appreciate that. I'm going to vote to move forward for us to consider an ordinance. At this point, to be very candid, I don't see myself voting for one, but I think there's enough energy here and there's enough goodwill where I think we need to look at it in a more kind of organized fashion, and I think bringing it to the Public Works and Public Safety Committee is probably the best way to do that. So I just want to explain my vote here. Just because I'm going to support the motion doesn't mean I ultimately support that idea. And it puts me in a real bind. I like to see myself as being very friendly toward families and toward the environment and toward the kinds of lessons that supporters of chickens are wanting all of us to learn, especially their children. I walk or bike to work unless it's thunderstorming. We have a garden, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, I think I'm about as green and wildlife-oriented as you can get, but I'm not keen on it, very frankly. And I appreciate those who've spent quite a few, probably hours at this point, talking to me on the telephone, sending me emails. I've certainly read these things, and just kind of as a measure of support for their good faith and to allow this to kind of have an appropriate venue to be discussed. And I am going to support it now, but probably will not later.
Further discussion? Further discussion? All right, call the roll.
Olson?
Yes.
Pankow?
No.
Padragula?
Yes.
Schuler?
Yes.
Chimento?
No.
Sitma?
Yes.
Straight?
Yes.
Withus?
No.
Berg?
No.
Franzfog?
No.
Hedberg?
No.
Janser?
No.
Colson?
Yes.
Lehner?
No.
Motion fails. Okay, thank you for all of your work. Is there anybody else that, I know there's somebody else that wishes to appear under personal appearances. Where's the people from the spot? There you go. There are some seats in the front for those of you standing in the back. This will be a good opportunity for you to maybe come up front if you so desire.
Okay. Hi, I'm Sherry McLaughlin, 1400 14th Street Southwest, Minot. And this is Thomas Shaw.
Thomas Shaw, 1808 South Main Street, number 3 in Minot.
Okay. Just give you a little bit of history. Our intention was to open a pool hall game center in Minot for 21 and over and under 21. We bought the Cenex building downtown Minot in May. Before we purchased the building, we talked to city officials about what we needed to do and if we had to have sprinklers in the building. We're told we didn't have to have them. Go ahead, you jump in.
If we were under an occupancy level of 300 people, that was the number set aside by the fire marshal and the city, that if we were under 300, we would not require any sprinkler system in the building.
And we were classified as A3 because of the type of building we were and because a pool hall falls under A3, just like a bowling alley or any type of
Assembly.
So.
After we purchased the building, we met with the fire marshal, Brian Anderson. Before we purchased the building, I'm sorry. We got those numbers, and we thought we'd move on from there. So we purchased the building, and we started the process of opening the business. It's now October 3rd, and we are still nowhere near ready to open the building.
The only other thing we were doing in the building was building bathrooms. There was no other construction being done. Tommy did approach the city about getting a building permit before we started, and we were told that the plumber had to get the building permit. We did no other building, no other construction whatsoever in the building.
Correct. That was all we did in the building, was just build a bathroom. And I know I had several people up at here that have been in the building before, seen the building, looked at the building.
Right.
We're looking for direction right now, because we don't, I know what has been said and where we are, but there's got to be a change to the way this happens, because this has almost been laughable.
Well, we actually had Lee stop before he left down to the building to tell us, what do we need to do? Have we missed something? Are we messing up with the process or whatever else? And
You could move closer to the microphone.
I said we had Lee stop down to the building, when all this went on, to try and say, what do we need to do to get open? And his direction at the time was, let's get a building permit for them to build a bathroom. What does it need to be made out of? The question was asked, wood, steel. We were told we could do whatever the architect says. Architect says wood. So we built the bathrooms with a permit from the city and moved forward, because that's the only thing we were building. The direction that Lee had given
the people he brought in was, this is what we need to do, this is what we need to get open, what else they need to do. We were told nothing else except for the bathrooms at the time.
Since that time, things have changed. Different obstacles have been brought to our attention that we need to basically go around. We understand ordinances and all that, but it was 5 months before you start hearing about stuff. It's tough. I mean, we have, and I know this has nothing to do with anything up here, but we're a pool hall. We have pool leagues starting tonight. That we have teams out of our place that have no place to shoot because obviously we're not open.
And the only thing that I'll say is during the whole process, I'm like, we don't want to skirt any laws. We don't want to skirt any rules. We've asked what they were, but we can't have a moving target. It's like, what do we need to do to get open? You need to have your architect drip a drawing. Or first it said, you need to have Tommy draw a drawing. Anything on a napkin doesn't matter. We did that. That wasn't good enough. You need to have somebody as a draftsman draw it up. My husband's a draftsman. He drew it up. Not good enough. You need to have an architect draw it up. He drew it up. Still not good enough. Architect came up with the numbers, said under 300. Still not good enough. Now we're being told that we have to sprinkle the building because the building's too large. Nothing has changed in the building since the day we bought it in May. We haven't expanded it. We haven't built anything else in the whole building except for the bathrooms, which we had approval to build. So I guess the only question I have is, y'all, to the city council is some direction on what we need to do. If there's a way to get a variance to get open so we can have people employed, because at this point I'm laying people off. I can't hire anybody else because I don't know when I'm going to be open. I don't have any time frame at this point.
That's what we're looking for right now is we have to have some direction, something. I mean, sprinklers have been the issue since day one. We thought they weren't the issue. They became the issue, and they're still the issue to this point. Before we bought the building, when we discussed that was kind of if we're going to buy the building, do we have to sprinkle? No. It's a large cost to occur now that we're 5 months in. If we were in May and it was either sprinkle the building, you're not going to open. I mean, that's what it's come down to. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The other construction they want us to do is going to cost more than a sprinkler system would cost anyway. But that stuff all came about the 27th of September. So that puts us behind the 8 ball anyway.
And the construction of the whole building is a cinder block building. The only walls in there that were wood before we bought the building were taken down because we were asked to take them down by the fire marshal, and we took them down.
There's no wood left. Thank you.
Okay. Before we get into questions from the city council, I want to add a bit to what Ms. McLaughlin and Mr. Shaw have indicated. Alderman Sitma called me 2 or 3 weeks ago and asked me to go down with him to tour the facility. I asked Lance Meyer and Cindy to join me, and to be perfectly honest and blunt, I'm sympathetic to their cause. There does seem to be a great deal of, to be kind, miscommunication. And I think that these people have, at least my interaction with them has been in good faith. And I sympathize with the urgency for them to get open very soon because of the timing surrounding their core business, which is pool and dart leagues. And if you're not familiar, October is the beginning of that season. And if you miss that, it's difficult to recover for the rest of the whole year. And I don't mean calendar year, I mean winter season. So when we met 2 or 3 weeks ago, I understood that. Earlier today, Ms. Hendershot wrote a letter.
We got that right before we came here.
Okay.
I mean, literally right before we came here. And before that was done, our architect did do a code study that we all were asked for.
Right.
And all the codes that he had, we qualified for. And then after that was when more stuff came out, like, no, the building's too big. That was never asked of our architect before. That's one of the other issues. It's like every time there's something else. You know, every issue that they had, I can give you all a copy of this if you want, about the separation of occupancies, the suppression, everything else, type of construction was all addressed with our architects.
Okay, what I'd like to do, if this is okay with you, I'd like to call Mr. Meyer to the podium and get his input. If you would be available in the front so that the alderman can ask you questions, so we can hopefully get this sorted out. Mr. Meyer? You and I have had several meetings on this, not just the one 2 or 3 weeks ago that I referenced, but we've had several since then as well. What can we do to get Ms. McLaughlin and Mr. Shaw open for business?
Mr. Mayor, members of the
Legally. By code. I don't want to get misquoted.
Right. And of course, you know, as city staff, it's always our intention to make sure that buildings are constructed to a code and that safety of not only their employees but public that might go into this building is protected. So with that being said, what we've done is we've taken a look at the code study that their architect has come up with. And really, for those that don't know what these code studies are, it's an architect looks at the structure of the building and what kind of walls are constructed and what they're made out of. Because different areas of a building require different fire-rated assemblies or walls, they call them. So it would be almost impossible for someone just to walk through a building and say yay or nay without knowing some of that information. So I think that is some of the miscommunication probably up front that happened. You know, from a city staff standpoint, we asked for some of that stuff. We received it recently. We worked through that. We've looked at what they're going to need, and in an interim condition to expedite some of this process, if they would open just the pool hall space and they would close off with a fire-rated wall, they're opening between the pool hall space and the arcade. That puts them underneath a certain square footage threshold, which would then delay the requirement for that fire suppression system just in that pool hall space. They'd have to put up some emergency lights so that if the power would go out and there's a fire, that people inside would be able to find the exits. And they'd also have to construct a 1-hour fire-rated second exit. So there's a set of doors on their east side. So we'd have to just make sure that that area has a rating. And it's steel studs with sheetrock on both sides. And those sort of things can be discussed further to work through some of those things. Per the energy code, and this can be built, you know, at some time before they'd receive this, you know, certificate of occupancy. But there's a vestibule that has to be built so that when you open the exterior doors, there's a set of interior doors that keeps the cold air or the from entering the building in the winter, and then obviously the cool air in the summertime from going out. So those energy code requirements, they're required on any project that's done in the city of Minot. So we've outlined what some of these options are. Of course, then a fire suppression system is also one of these options. And city attorney has relayed this information to their legal counsel so that we can sit down and work through that together and answer any questions they may have.
So if I heard you right, there are basically 3 items. One was sealing off that one section to get their occupancy number below 300.
It's their square footage, yes, sir.
Right.
Yep.
The second one was emergency lights, which I'm sure they were going to have regardless of what happens.
Correct.
And then the third thing was to have a fire retardant wall built where?
It's we call it a 1-hour rated firewall.
Where,
and then
though?
that would be from basically the east side of the pool hall area out to the doors on the east side of the building.
Okay.
And then they have to do some work in that stairwell with some of the building codes that we have to make sure that in the case of a fire, people are channeled, so to speak, out those doors instead of getting lost going upstairs or downstairs. So we feel that those improvements, you know, the walling off to the arcade space, that those walls that may have to be built out to that east doorway and the lights, you know, those are probably short-term improvements. We don't see too big of an issue, in our opinion, having those constructed, but we can sit down and work through that with them.
Okay. Before we move on from that, I also want to reiterate part of a conversation that we had in my office last week where I said that a lot of the frustration comes from either poor communication and poor procedures on our part, and that we need to address that. We need to address both the communication and having a clearer set of guidelines for citizens when they come to Public Works and want to do projects like this. And you and I talked about it. All I'm doing is making it part of the record so that everybody knows that we recognize that there's an issue that needs to be resolved, and you and I have discussed it, and you're working on it.
That's correct, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Meyer? Alderman Lehner?
Well, I got a call from Mr. Shaw Thursday night, received the email, an 8-page email on Friday morning, and as I told Mr. Shaw, I would reserve all judgments until I got the rest of the story. So I spent about an hour and a half with Mr. Myers on Friday afternoon, and to me, after reading the 8-page dissertation, looking at the blueprint that was just received in the, correct me if I'm wrong, in the engineering office on the 27th, I think it was Tuesday. However, I have a copy of a letter that recommended they do that back on June 27th, 3 months earlier, which apparently that never occurred. But it seems to me the whole thing stems from the fact that initially when the business was conceived, it was going to be a pool hall, strictly a pool hall in a block building. And then all of a sudden now we've expanded to the north, which is the area that they've got batting cages, I understand, and video games, and that's the area that needs to be walled off because now it's gone beyond the square footage and also gone beyond that's why it needs fire suppression. That's the impression I get. I don't know if they're shaking their heads out there, but as I read the letter and as I look through the stuff, that's kind of the impression I got. It's kind of the business has evolved and grown as time went on without getting possibly the proper permits to go along with it.
Well, I think that for tonight's discussion, I'd like to really focus on moving forward, and we'll figure out what's happened and how we can fix that for the future. But I'd really like to focus on how we can get this moving forward. Any other questions for Mr. Meyer?
Just one more. If we give them a temporary access to get open and stuff, are we going to require them to put fire suppression in at the end of their season or next year as they expand into the other areas? Is that going to be a requirement?
We'll let them address that in a minute. Any other question? Because that question is basically addressed to the 8 spot, and we'll let Mr. Meyer answer his questions, and then we'll let him sit down, and the 8 spot can come back up. Any other questions for Mr. Meyer? Thank you, sir, but if you would stay up front, it would be efficient. Yes, Ms. McLaughlin and Mr. Shaw.
We asked at least 2 months ago if we could open and add the sprinklers at a later date. And we're told absolutely not. Could not be done because of safety reasons. Also, as far as all this for the plan, this was the plan from day one. The very first drawing that we turned to the city showed the batting cages, showed the video games, showed the golf simulator, showed everything that's in the building, day one.
Ms. McLaughlin, with the item number 1 in the letter from Ms. Hendershot.
That I got today? Yep.
Yeah, we all got it today. I think
Okay.
they didn't finish it until today. Is that something that's amenable to get you open?
I mean, no, because the price that we got quoted for doing some of the stuff they're talking about going the whole wall all the way up to the ceiling and the fire door. If that was going to be the case, we'll just put sprinklers in, which we planned on doing originally on the building once we did upstairs. The intent was always to eventually put sprinklers in, just not when we first opened because we didn't think we had to have them.
So item number 1 will not address your needs.
I guess the first thing about what they just talked about now was the first time we met with city building officials at the building, we asked about putting a wall up to separate the 2 sides, and we were told at that point in time that they didn't see a need for that separation wall there. So we have bids from Overhead Door to do that wall from early May. So we planned on that, and we were told by a building official that we didn't have to do that. So that's what I guess the thing is that you get told this stuff now to open, but 5 months ago you were told you didn't need that. that's where we are. I mean,
And when Lee Staub was there, that was one of the questions he asked also, was if that was an option to do something like that to get open, if we could get something to get us open. So.
So this is not,
this is nothing new. I
no,
mean,
I'm trying to get beyond.
I guess, I mean, like I said, I got this right before we walked in here.
Right.
And I got this because my attorney actually called and said, what do we need to do? I want something in writing from the city because I keep getting told different stories every
Right.
time I talk to you. So I want something to know what I need to do to go forward, whatever it is. And that's what we asked for, and that's what I got today.
the question that you asked earlier is if there was a way to grant, or Mr. Lehner asked earlier, if there was a way to grant exception from now to the start of our pool, or end of our pool season, will we put in suppression? Yes. I told Mr. Myers that last week because there was no other option for us. It was either that or build walls through businesses, and it became an impossible task without doing suppression. But I asked for an exception to, like, let us get open, because we're not open. We're not making money. We need money to build this stuff. And we have no problem doing that if we can get some time. I guess that's where we are, because we do plan on making that whole building different businesses. And we'd have to sprinkle at that time. But to open the pool hall, we were told we didn't have to. And now we were told the only way to open is basically put in a sprinkler system or construct.
Walls everywhere.
Right. And when we received our building permit, it was bathroom only stated on the building permit, so even if we wanted to build this other stuff, it wouldn't have happened then. But some of this stuff is just, it's less cost effective to build or put sprinklers in.
And as far as the vestibule, the reason why the vestibule has not been built is because nobody would tell us where they wanted it. Because originally, one of the things we got back was saying that we had to have a second exit, and they wanted another door in the vestibule built on the south side of the building. And then they also wanted another exit built on the
North side.
No, on the east side of the building going out behind the batting cages. And they want a whole hallway built for there, so. And that would be, that's not cost effective to do, we'll put in sprinklers at that point.
So if you had an opportunity to look at this letter, probably not
Yeah,
real.
I mean, we literally printed it as we were walking here.
Okay.
You know, my
There's
lawyer
some-
called me and said, there's a letter in your mail.
There's
Because-
some issues with this letter that are just
Not true.
flat out untruths, and I'm not happy about it. One of the things that's in this letter, if you look on, no, no, on page 2, when it talks about the city inspector coming in and checking the framing work of our building for the bathroom. When he came in, we looked at the building, he actually asked me what was on the wood. I told him it was fire paint that we were told we had to have on there in order for fire suppression, and he said, okay. He signed the building permit and left. All this stuff about me not showing him the paint can, fire rating, mill thickness, this is the first I've heard of it right here. That's what we're dealing with.
Mhm.
So that was about the end of it for me, because that's just blatant. I mean, there's nothing truthful about that statement.
So none of these three options that we've, that have been presented are viable in your mind?
Like, I would have to have time to find out how much they're gonna cost. You know, my problem is viable, how quickly? I mean, how quickly can I get these things done to be open? You know, that's the question.
We do have a quote from Nova for a sprinkler system, with tapping into the Second Street pipeline, which you have to have a 6-inch access.
We have to tear up a street.
It's $86,000 to get the fire suppression brought into the building and then installed in the building. The funny thing is about the fire suppression is they can't put any of the fire suppression in the building because it's all too hard of material, so it all has to be surface mounted. Today, a gentleman came in and he looked at the north side of our building where the arcade and stuff is. It's an open ceiling, and I don't know if the rafters will support a fire suppression system in there. For a wet suppression system anyway, that would have to be looked at by obviously someone other than myself, but you know, I mean, yeah.
So what are you asking for then?
Before I came here and got this letter, I'm not planning on coming before this, I was asking for a variance or some way to get open. I didn't have this till, like I said, 10 minutes before I walked in here. You know, and the timing is interesting because I've been asking for that for about probably 6 or 7 days from the attorney. So I meant right now, I don't know. I'd have to sit down and look at this and see what the costs are. But my goal is, is there a variance, or is there any way to get our doors open so we can start employing people and start making money?
Who would I ask that? Mr. Meyer or the city attorney, or? Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, under the International Building Code, which is incorporated into our city ordinances, the building official is the only person that can issue a certificate of occupancy. This body doesn't even have that authority. There are no variances under the building code that this body can grant. It's not a zoning code. It's not something that's we would do for like a land issue with the zoning code. If there are any other questions, I'd be happy to help address those.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Just a minute. Okay. Mr. Mayor, do you have any comments on that?
Mr. Mayor, the only thing I might add is, there's 3 options. The first, I think, is fairly simplistic to get the pool area open, in our opinion. I think what they're referring to is the more complicated wall would be if they wanted to open up the entire main level without putting in a fire suppression system. One of the code reviews that the architect had come up with was that partition wall between the 2 areas, it has to meet these 3-hour fire ratings. The wall is fine, but then when you get up to the ceiling, you'd have to spray a fire retardant on the joist to make sure that the fire can't transfer from one side of the building to the other. And then there's a special paint that can be applied to that fireproofing. And per the fire code, it takes 2 levels of protection, so that would count as a second. And then the doorway between the 2 would have to meet that 3-hour fire code. And then according to those requirements, without the fire suppression system, that's where it kicks in, that second method of egress. And when Tommy and I talked about that last week when we were in his building, he said, well, we lease part of that out to another person, so that would be hard to do. So recognizing that, that option might not be available to them. And so that's why we've been trying to find other ways in the code to make this work based on now this code study where we have all this information to make those calls. That's the only thing I'd like to add, Mayor.
Okay. All right. Alderman Padragula.
Could we get a copy of this letter, or these letters? We haven't seen them. It's hard to...
It was emailed to us.
Never got it.
Was it?
Mr. Mayor, the only people copied on the letter were you and Mr. Sitma.
Oh, okay. I saw Mr. Sitma. Yeah, we'll get you a copy
Thanks.
of it.
Appreciate it.
More than likely because he and I were the ones that have been working on this for several weeks now. So where do we go from here? We have a new business that is needing to get going, and there are time issues involved, but we have some legal obstacles to keep us from helping them move forward. I welcome anyone's suggestion. Come forward, state your name and address to the record, please.
My name is Jerry Fuchs. I live at 2709 20th Street Northwest. When I used to be employed by Shingleby Builders, I did the hospital up in Tioga. And there was an issue up there. There was a fault in the drawings at the very end, and the hospital wasn't going to be able to open their new clinic into the hospital. So basically how they got around it is the state allowed the user to have a firewatch protection until they got everything else squared away on the drawings, and until we got it corrected for the new documents that what we were waiting for. So what I'm suggesting to you folks, if it's in their budget, is, and if the city allows it, have a firewatch. So basically, you have a person there 24 hours, if you're open 24 hours, that'll allow you to open it up if the city allows it. And that's what they did up at Tioga Hospital. You can talk to Randy Peterson, and he'll tell you exactly what happened up in Tioga. And it did work.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that program. Mr. Meyer, are you? Okay. Perhaps then the best thing to do right now then is to, I still think sitting down with the folks from the spot and also pursuing this, the Tioga solution of a fire watch is viable. And let's find out what other options there may be out there. Just a minute. And then let's schedule something really soon to, like tomorrow, and figure out what's available. Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
Hi, my name is Shane Grundle. I live at 517 12th Street Southwest. I am the league coordinator for LaFleur & Sons in town here. And I like the fact that you said get something done tomorrow, because pool leagues started tonight, and they go at Tuesday nights and Thursday nights, and they go for 21 weeks. Now, if they can't get open for some reason because of lack of communication or whatever, that's a lot of business that those teams are going to have to go elsewhere. So I just wanted to tell you that this is a very big deal to Tommy, and it's bothering him a lot, and it's all because they got wrong information. So I would suggest, and hopefully you guys would get on action on this as soon as possible. Thank you.
Mr. Grundle, I think that I appreciate your comments, and I think that everybody up here understands the timing issue.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everybody that's here understood that too.
Oh, I understand that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Your name and address, please.
Thank you. My name is James Quinn. I live at 120 41st Avenue Southeast, apartment 201. I guess this gentleman, the speaker before me, I'm not sure if what he meant was maybe have a fire watches. And like sometimes I go on a job site for oil companies, and you have to have a hot permit, and you may have to have somebody with the fire extinguisher there to extinguish any flames. Maybe that's what he's referring to. Maybe he needs to have somebody that's around, employed during hours of league operations to keep an eye out for a fire, I guess. Second of all, I guess another way to maybe get around everything is if maybe he's only able to be open for hours during league. That way the other days where league is not going on, they have time to get everything constructed and dealt with.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Alderman Pankow.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I would give some insight to this, just based on experience, but it seems like there's a level of moving parts here that really need to be pounded out. And, you know, we're talking fire watch, maybe a temporary certificate of occupancy or something along that fashion, but we're not just talking fire sprinkler, we're talking about stairways that don't go to direct access to egress. There's multitudes of issues. So I really can't provide anything without more information, and I'd be willing to be a part if anything was put together by you, the mayor, to help look at this process.
Perhaps after tonight's meeting, you will join Mr. Mayor and Mr. Sitma and the folks from the spot, and we can start hammering those moving pieces. Alderman Sitma.
And seeing as we are talking about fire code and the direct, like you said, we absolutely have to stay within the bounds of what the codes are. I think we should definitely seek out that expertise, whether it be the fire marshal, the state fire marshal's office, I don't care, but let's get that pinned down.
Okay, Chief Kelly's in the audience now, so perhaps she can stay afterward as well. Further discussion from the council? Alderman Cosin.
I would like to share my disappointment in the miscommunication. I apologize. This is clearly a situation where the city can be better, and we will be better.
Something new, sir? Yes, sir. Okay, come forward, please. Your name, please.
Hi, good evening.
Mike Perdue, 621 10th Street Northeast, previous owner of the Rack Pool Hall that used to operate on south side of town. For approximately 8 years, I was in that business. I'm questioning mostly about the fact that you're saying that this building that has always been in existence downtown needs to have a sprinkler system just because of the possibility some people might be standing inside of it. It's a concrete and block building. There is no kitchen. There is almost no way that a fire can start. There are hardly any electrical appliances or anything else. There is no longer any smoking available in any building. I guess my question would be is what's going to start on fire, number one. Number two, they say that you can only have an occupancy of up to 300 people. At any given moment, there would probably be no more than anywhere from 60 to 90 people, if you were lucky, in the property at the time. So to say that you have to have it because there's 300 people that are going to be in the building would be almost an unheard of occurrence, unless some special was happening. I just don't understand where it is they think that these code that never was required before needs to be installed. If there was no building done other than a building of a bathroom, why would you need to put a vestibule on the outside of a building?
That's a different, that's a federal law. So
just because the building is...
No, it's because it's an energy requirement, it's a separate issue.
Just because the property changed owners, then it's required now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any questions for Mr. Perdue? Okay.
Oh, pardon me.
No, you can sit. All right, so after this meeting, a brief meeting, we'll get together and we'll see what we can put together with Alderman Pankow, Alderman Sipma, Mr. Meyer, and Chief Kelly. Okay? All right? Okay. Any other personal appearances tonight? Any other personal appearances? All right, well, item number 10 is the mayor's report. I have what I believe is a little bit lengthy report. I want to give some updates based on the on last month's meeting. A number of people came and spoke to us about issues that were important to them, one of which was the hepatitis C outbreak. I visited with First District Health and sent a letter I think most of you have received that I also sent out to First District Health and Trinity, and I have a meeting scheduled with Trinity on October 18th. I was a little bit surprised by the community reaction to this issue. Something that basically came up during public appearances. I've had a lot of contact about people who are concerned about this issue in the community. So I wanted to keep you all up to date on what's going on with that issue, and I'll continue to keep you posted as my meetings with First District and Trinity continue. Another item that came up last month was the item for noxious weeds. I've appointed an ad hoc committee chaired by Alderman Padragula, and they're going to be looking at better ways for the city to address this problem. I also met with city staff, Mr. Meyer and Mr. Jared Edwards from Minot Public Schools to address the two school issues that came up last month. One was for 16th Street near Longfellow School. The second one was concerns for children crossing over by the new John Hoven Elementary School. We came up with, I believe, were reasonable solutions to ensure the safety of the children attending these two elementary schools. After we came up with those ideas, I met with Dr. Vollmer in his office to bring him up to speed as to what we'd been talking about, and he pledges his complete support and appreciates the cooperation between Minot Public Schools and the City of Minot. Last week I was in Washington, D.C. with Task Force 21, and I met with the entire congressional delegation on the nuclear triad and its place in our national defense. They were very supportive and recognized not only what that element provides to the safety or the protection of our nation, but also what the base impact is to our community. Minot also hosted a symposium that also addressed the same topic. Right after our meeting last month, I met with Governor Dalrymple on cost share plans for the state and participation with the flood projects. And lastly, I represented the city at countless events with Host Fest. I am lutefisked out. And to that same end, I have on your agendas, you will see I have a resolution of support for our sister city, Shane, and I'd like to put that before you for consideration.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Janser?
I move we pass your resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Sitma. Discussion? Well, and I'm going to provide some discussion. As part of the Host Fest activities for 4 years now, Minot State University, the Chamber of Commerce, Host Fest, and Minot Area Development Corporation have, and Telemark, have jointly conducted a seminar on international business and ways our communities and the upper Midwest and the Scandinavian countries could work together on providing economic development. We did that this year with really positive results, and I know that John and Steph are here. I'd like to thank them for their support. But the resolution before you is basically reinforcing the sister city relationship. Any discussion? Any discussion? Call the roll.
Janser,
Yes.
Coulson,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shemento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withis,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg.
Yes.
Thank you for your support. I appreciate that. Item number 2 on your agenda is a resolution of support for our new retail location for United States Postal Office. I believe that information was included in your packets. I entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
Moved by Coulson.
Second.
Seconded by Pankow. Discussion? Discussion? Call the roll.
Coulson,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shemento, Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withis,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser.
Yes.
Motion passes. That concludes my report. Item number 11 is...
Mr. Mayor?
Yes?
I wanted to move approval of your appointments.
For the noxious weeds?
Well, for the electrical board, the noxious weeds.
Oh,
And I
yeah,
also-
thank you, thank you.
And I also don't think that we ever formally approved your appointments to the city reorganization committee.
Actually, you did,
We
but I
did.
will entertain the motions for the other two. They were done prior to because of timing issues to get that committee up and rolling.
I understand that we approved the creation of the committee, but I don't recall approving the specific nominees to the committee.
But I was given that authority by your motion.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I just
though.
wanted to remove any kind of question about that, 'cause
Yeah.
I think it's important that we stand behind that.
So, your motion now is for the electrical appointment and the noxious weeds?
Yes.
Any discussion? Or is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Hedberg. Discussion? Yes?
Mr. Mayor, may I have a clarification? If we, and I recognize, having raised that question, if you don't have to, if this body doesn't have to confirm, why do we then have to confirm the noxious weed members of that committee tonight?
Because the prior one for the liquor one and the government one was authorized by you all by saying the mayor will appoint. This one is that we have time So the motion was for me to form, and then you approve.
Thank you for the clarification.
You bet. Okay? Discussion on noxious weeds and the electrical board. Discussion? Call the roll.
Padragula?
Yes.
Schuler?
Yes.
Shemento?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Straight?
Yes.
Withus?
Yes.
Berg?
Yes.
Franzfog?
Yes.
Hedberg?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Cosin?
Yes.
Lehner?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Pankow?
Yes.
Motion passes. Ms. Hemphill, you are acting city manager. You have a report? While you're getting set up, I would ask that building services investigate, I don't know how it is out there, but it is incredibly hot up here. Is it out there too? Yes, everybody's nodding. If we could, in the future, have building services perhaps look into this and find out why it's so unbearably hot tonight.
Okay, here we go. Mr. Mayor and Council, first I want to go over our upcoming dates. Changing Government Committee is scheduled for tomorrow at noon, again on the 11th, 18th, and 25th. All those at noon are in council chambers. Tomorrow there will be a fire department open house at Station 1 from 4 to 6 p.m. City manager candidate meet and greet will be October 6th from 5 to 7 at the Grand Hotel. And then interviews will be held on October 7th at 8 a.m. over at the auditorium. The Minot International Airport will have a master plan public meeting October 19th from 4 to 8, and everybody is invited to attend that. The Planning Commission will meet October 31st at 6:30 p.m., and then we'll have regular standing committees on November 1st and 2nd, and they will both start at 4:15 with airport and gambling to follow respectively. Also, the Minot Public Library has a number of events. Tomorrow night, they're going to have tacos and technologies at 6:30. They're going to have a communiversity command and control discussion on October 5th at 6:30. And then they're going to have a TED Ed at the Parker Senior Center from 10:30 to 12 on October 13th and October 18th. More information, you can contact City Hall here, or you can certainly contact the library for information on those events. Final candidates have been selected for the city manager's search. They're Casey Bradley. He's the auditor and chief operating officer of Stutzman County in North Dakota. Michael Cardos, he's the director of operations at the Air Force District of Washington, D.C. And then Thomas Berry, he's the director of public works from Meridian, Idaho. And again, I've already gone over those times when the interviews and the meet and greet will be held. As the mayor indicated, we met with the governor about cost share for the Mouse River Enhanced Flood Protection Plan. We also, then I actually attended, a number of the aldermen did too, a State Water Commission policy meeting on September 21st where they talked about it some more. And then on October 12th, there will be a recommendation from the Water Policy Committee for a 65-35% cost share for the city of Minot for the project moving forward. We had started at 75-25. We may make one more run at this and try to get 70-30, but right now the commission is going to be recommending 65-35. The Minot Police Department had Officer Chad Fakin, who was recently awarded the Eagle Award by the Minot Chamber of Commerce, and they also have a couple of picture here that show that other officers continue to get certificates and engage in training tactics as necessary. This next is construction update. The hazard mitigation project, this one I know has a lot of visibility because 16th Street remains closed. However, they did their concrete pour today. It was supposed to occur on Saturday, but our Public Works Director talked with the construction people on that, and it was poured today, so it should open to two-lane traffic on October 10th. Our downtown 2 phase, you actually have your update from our public information officer, the pick on that project. Phase 2, as you all know, is underway. Concrete was poured on Main and 2nd. The intersection is planned to be opened at the end of this week. Underground and above-ground work will be the top focus on the final 2 blocks of Main and the final 2 blocks of 2nd Avenue 6 week. We're looking at a 6-week timeline on those projects. Downtown parking structures, there will be a bid opening on October 18th, and at the Special City Council on October 21st, we plan on asking for award of the bid for the exterior casings, awnings, and windows. There have been questions that have been posed to myself, and I'm sure the city engineer, on the roofs on those. The developer had submitted some ideas for a roofing material. It did not meet the international building codes. We rejected it, and the engineer has communicated that back to the developer, and we're waiting for a new proposal or update on what they plan on doing for the roofing materials. 37th Avenue Road construction, which extends the 2-lane road to a 5-lane urban. It's currently working on 16th and 37th intersections. Plans are in place to open up 2 lanes of traffic in the next coming of days. The project is on schedule. Substantial completion was supposed to be this weekend, but we're looking now at October 15th. The rain this week will, of course, delay that, and nobody has any control over Mother Nature. Ramshead Access Road, the pavement work continues on the access road. Traffic signals were installed. We hope to have that road open soon. The storm sewer system work will continue, and that is off the road, but that work will continue for quite some time yet. Hillcrest Drive, the massive panel walls you can see in the picture here, they are going up, and the road paving continues. The project completion is expected at the end of October, so we're looking at approximately 3 to 4 more weeks of work there. Those are our major projects, and that's my update. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any
Yes?
questions for Cindy? Alderman Patrigula.
Yes, the special council meeting on the 21st, what time will that be?
That will be at noon, and that is for the special assessment, and then there may be a few other housekeeping items, such as the bid opening on the parking structures that may be put on that agenda, and of course will be noticed appropriately.
Any other questions? Thank you. City Attorney?
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I submitted a written report to the City Council relating to some of the items that we've handled in our office this month, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Hendershot? Any questions? Thank you. Consider the report of the Planning Commission.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Janser,
I move consent on the Planning Commission.
all
report.
5 items.
Yes, sir.
Second.
Seconded by Schuler. What that means for those of you in the audience is that the Planning Commission agenda will be passed as it came out of the Planning Commission. So if there's anything in there that you want to indicate that you want to talk to, please let us know and we'll pull that item. Otherwise, they'll be passed as they were at committee. Anybody want anything pulled? Seeing no one. Discussion. Call the roll.
Janser,
Yes.
Cosin,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shemento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withus,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 13 is consider the report of the Finance and Improvements Committee. Alderman Franzfog.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Pankow chaired that committee in my absence, so I would let him handle the report.
Mr. Pankow.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we had 14 items on the agenda. I would move all 14 and pull number 2.
Second.
All items but number 2. Again, what this means for those of you in the audience, that all these items will be passed as they came out of committee. If there's any of those items that you wish to discuss, let us know and we'll pull them. Except item number 2. That's already been pulled. Anybody care to have anything pulled? Call the roll.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shemento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withus,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Cosin,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Motion passes. Mr. Pankow, item number 2.
I'd move number 2.
Second.
Seconded by Olson.
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman
The
Pankow.
reason it was pulled, there was a couple that was at the Finance and Improvements Committee meeting that didn't get the consent part, so they wanted to make comment. I'm not sure if they're here tonight, but we can check.
Is there anybody here in the audience that wants to speak to this item? Anybody in the audience want to speak to this item? They're at finance and didn't realize what consent agenda meant. Okay. I don't see anybody. Any discussion from the council? Call the roll.
Pankow?
Yes.
Padragula?
Yes.
Schuler?
Yes.
Shemento?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Straight?
Yes.
Withus?
Yes.
Berg?
Yes.
Franzvog?
Yes.
Hedberg?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Cosin?
Yes.
Lehner?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Motion passes. Does that conclude the
Mr.
report?
Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Item number 14 is consider the report of the Public Works and Safety Committee. Alderman Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had 10 items on our agenda. I would move consent on all 10 with the exceptions of 6 and 9.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Also, I would like to make a correction, just a housekeeping correction to number 2. It's the Perkett Stormwater Improvements Construction and Maintenance Agreement with the North Dakota DOT. It's not with the Canadian Pacific Railroad.
Is that correction track with your
Yes.
motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lehner. Discussion? Anybody in the audience care to have these items pulled? Anybody in the audience? Call the roll.
Schuler?
Yes.
Shemento? Sitma?
Yes.
Straight?
Yes.
Withus?
Yes.
Berg?
Yes.
Franzvog?
Yes.
Hedberg?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Cosin?
Yes.
Lehner?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Pankow?
Yes.
Padragula?
Yes.
Motion passes. Alderman Schuler.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Number 6 was a bid opening that happened today for the Main Street Alley reconstruction. There were no bids received. I don't know that we need a motion, but they are looking to rebid this one in the spring of 2017.
Do we need a bid to not do anything, or a motion? So we'll just skip it? All right, we'll skip it. Item number 9.
Number 9 was also another bid opening that happened today. There was one bid that came in, so we're looking for, I'm requesting approval for a bid by Maine Electric for the amount of $13,033.50, which is under the $15,000 cost estimate on this project.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Pankow. Discussion? I'm particularly pleased with that bid because I think the initial numbers were about double that. So, very good. Discussion? Call the roll.
Schuler?
Yes.
Shemento? Sitma?
Yes.
Straight?
Yes.
Withus?
Yes.
Berg?
Yes.
Franzvog?
Yes.
Hedberg?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Cosin?
Yes.
Lehner?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Pankow?
Yes.
Padragula?
Yes.
Does that conclude your report, Alderman Schuler?
It does. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Item number 15 is consider the report of the Airport Committee. Alderman Olson.
Mr. Mayor, we had 3 items on our agenda. I would move consent on all 3.
Second.
Moved and seconded for consent agenda on the Airport Committee. Again, all 3 of these will go through as they came out of committee. Discussion? Call the roll.
Olson?
Yes.
Pankow?
Yes.
Padragula?
Yes.
Schuler?
Yes.
Shemento?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Straight?
Yes.
Withus?
Yes.
Berg?
Yes.
Franzvog?
Yes.
Hedberg?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Cosin?
Yes.
Lehner?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Item number 16 is consider the report of the Liquor and Gambling Control Committee. Alderman Hedberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had one item on our agenda, and that was the administrative approvals. I'll move that item.
Seconded by Shemeno. Discussion on that item? Discussion? Call the roll.
Hedberg?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Cosin?
Yes.
Lehner?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Pankow?
Yes.
Padragula?
Yes.
Schuler?
Yes.
Shemento? Sitma?
Yes.
Straight?
Yes.
Withus?
Yes.
Berg?
Yes.
Franzvog?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you, Alderman Hedberg. Item number 17 is consider report of the Renaissance Zone Board. There are 2 items. Who wants to handle that?
Mr. Mayor, those should have been handled as public hearing number 7?
Only
Number 1.
number 2 was number 1.
Number 1 was.
Number 1
Here,
was
I'll move number 2.
moved by Janser.
Second.
Second.
Seconded by I couldn't hear. Alderman Stipma. Discussion? And number 2? Discussion? Call the roll?
Janser,
Yes.
Cosin,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson, Yes. Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shemento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withus,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzvog,
Yes.
Hedberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item number 18 is other business, so we have a couple of them here, and I believe there's a couple of additional ones as well. What's the council's wishes for the 2 on the agenda and the ones that we'll add? Well, we'll handle those separately. Maybe we should handle all of them separately. Item number 1 is the revocation of a taxi license for an orange cab.
Move one.
Move.
Second.
Seconded by Laner. Is anybody in the audience care to comment on this item? Anybody from Orange Cab here that wishes to speak? Come forward, please. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, hi. My name is Mariana Couch.
Couch.
And I live southeast,
Okay,
1818,
thank you.
apartment D. Yeah, I own a business with my husband for taxi, Dakota taxi. But it's a one taxi, small taxi. They was asking us, the city was telling us we need a wheelchair. But the wheelchair, the taxi is small and it's only one taxi. Donc we was worried about it, what we can do. We have to have another car to do that.
Yes, ma'am. I sympathize with your plight. This ordinance was passed in response to handicapped people.
May I explain? She's Dakota Taxi. She did turn her letter in to say that she was working on getting her license.
Okay,
So she was exempted. We've talked to the police department.
okay,
And she is okay. It's Orange Cab.
okay.
All right. That,
Oh, thank you, because
Yes.
I was confused.
okay. I'm Dee Falkenberg. I do the taxi licensing.
Thank you so
In conjunction
much.
with the police department.
You stay
So-
close, please.
Okay. Okay.
Sir,
Yeah.
what's your name so we can talk to each other?
Muhammad Ali.
Okay. You represent Orange Cab, I assume?
It's not my company, but I'm here, the responsible in here.
Okay,
Just have a one car on.
yes.
The company in Fargo.
The company's in Fargo,
Yeah.
but there's only one car here, and you represent that company?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor to remove your taxi license for non-compliance with the handicap portion of the ordinance. Do you have any plans of getting a handicapped accessible
Yeah,
cab?
yeah, the car in a process in Fargo.
It's in the process?
Yeah,
And how long has it been in the process?
might be, takes 1 month or less.
1 month,
Yeah,
okay?
end of this year, I don't know.
By the end of this year?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I
quite a
think-
while
I
yet.
think before that.
Okay.
Yeah, we're in a process right now.
When the city council considered the ordinance that is affecting you, there was much discussion about whether small cabs had to follow the same restrictions as the larger cabs. And after much discussion by this body, it was determined that all the cabs had to provide that service for
Yeah, I know.
the handicap portion of the community. And that was some time ago. When did you begin looking for your handicap vehicle?
I think October, before, end of October. I
The end
hope.
of
Yeah, I hope.
a year ago? Or?
What'd you say?
What? You hope to have it by the end of October. Is that what you mean?
What do you mean? Sorry.
You received a letter from the city
Yeah.
in March.
Yes.
that said
In March.
that the resolution is in effect now. Remember?
Okay.
I have a copy in your file. You were supposed to turn in a letter to us or have the vehicle registered with the city. We still have not received anything from you yet. So when did you start your process of to buy a vehicle to get it handicapped accessible?
I think this September. I think the middle of October.
Middle of September.
Yeah, no, middle of October.
This is October. We're not in, today's the 3rd of October. We can't be in the middle of October.
This month, at the end of this month, or a couple of days, first days in October.
All right.
Yeah.
You just started looking for the vehicle now?
No, the car is in a process. They stop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Ali?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Schuler?
can I just shed a little light on this
I would be
ordinance?
grateful.
Okay. I did chair that ad hoc committee, and any cab company that was already in operation within the city at the beginning of the year was given a grace period, basically, till July 1st to have their one accessible vehicle so that they could provide transportation to any person within the city that called, regardless of if they have any kind of disabilities or not. So I think what's happened, and I'm assuming that that is what you're talking about, the letter went out. If this was an existing business, they had until July 1st to become compliant. And I'm assuming there was probably members of the community that have called with concerns about this company not being compliant. Is that correct?
We've got nothing in writing.
And that's where the time frame falls into it. I just wanted everybody to have an idea. If you were an existing business, you had that 6 months to become compliant until July 1st to find a vehicle that would be suitable to bring anyone who might call for a ride to wherever they'd need to go.
So they had 6 months to fall into compliance, and you have not done anything to that effect yet, correct? You have nothing?
Yeah, because
Nothing.
the business is slow, but the car right now in the process.
Yeah.
Maybe next 10 days or 15 days.
Any questions for Mr. Ali?
This is the end of the month.
Okay.
We have it.
So, just.
Alderman Janser?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just for a point of clarification, so how, and maybe this is for Dee, so how long has Orange Cab been operating in the city of Minot?
That might file.
Well, I mean approximately, I mean more than.
More than 2 years, yes.
Okay, so, so they weren't caught in, I mean, I guess my point I'm making is they weren't caught in a last minute or, this has all been known since the origination of the ordinance with Alderman Schuler's ad hoc committee and so forth.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Anything you'd like to add, sir? The motion on the floor that's being considered is to revoke your cab license until you come in compliance.
What do you mean?
That means you cannot operate, you cannot drive your taxi anywhere in Minot until you get all your stuff straightened out. You have to have your handicap vehicle, you have to have your current insurance, you have to have a current title, you have to have your current safety inspection, you have to have your current Secretary of State certificate. Then you can go back into operation.
Okay?
And how I can walk right now?
Pardon
Because
me?
the car in the process.
I would assume that
if I do the, oh, sorry.
When the car, when the van or whatever vehicle it is that's going to make you handicapped compliant arrives, you could reapply for your taxi license again, assuming that this body decides to revoke it, and that hasn't been decided yet. Right? Okay? Anything else you'd like to say before the council votes?
Wants to know, they're going to talk about it now. They're going to say, yes, we want to revoke it, which means you can no longer work. Or they're going to say, you've got so many days, maybe, I don't know, whatever they decide. You either have to stop working now, or they're going to tell you how many days you can operate.
Okay. Okay.
So that's what they're going to talk about now.
Okay.
Okay.
But I hope to, because I have a kids in home, the business is slow. I have to continue to work until I get the car.
Okay. Alderman Lehner?
Just a question maybe for Dee or our compliance officer. Other than the handicap compatibility, is everything else in compliance? Okay.
Further questions or discussion? Anybody else care to comment? Anything else you want to add, sir?
No.
Nothing? Okay. Nothing else? The motion is to revoke. Call the roll.
Franzfeld,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser,
No.
Cozen,
No.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Oh,
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
No.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shemento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
No.
Withis,
No.
Berg,
No.
Tie.
and Barney.
Yes. Okay, item number 2 under, thank you, sir. Dee will explain if you have any questions. Item number 2 is the Vortex Drain Tiling LLC.
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Janser,
move the staff recommendation.
move the staff recommendations. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by who? With us. Discussion? Discussion? Alderman Padragula?
Mr. Jonathan is handling this?
Mr. Jonathan?
Staff member. I had a couple of questions.
Sure.
If I could ask him. Is this Vortex company involved in any other work for the city?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padragula, I believe they're working on 36th Avenue Northwest project also as
By
a
a
subcontractor to the Prime.
By SRT up there?
Yes.
And am I correct in recalling there's a substantial delay there too?
Yes, I believe so.
Does it look like, I'm not familiar with sureties and things like that, please forgive me, Madam Attorney. Will the subcontractors get paid?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padragula, yes. When you go after the surety, the contractor has to provide a payment bond. And that is to guarantee that the subcontractors or the suppliers get paid in the event of something like this.
So they'll get paid fully?
Yes.
Okay. And is it just my imagination, or does it seem that recently we've had contractors or developers not following through, experiencing substantial delays? And again, I'm sympathetic for weather or very much unexpected kind of construction conditions, but it sounds to me like things are not moving as smoothly as they used to. Is that just my perception, or is that reality maybe, at least with this company?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Padragula, I mean, we've had numerous projects that have had delays, but I don't know that we've ever had this much construction going on in Minot before to compare to.
This company, though, I think is from Thompson. It's not from Minot.
They're from Grand Forks.
Near there.
Yes.
Okay. I guess just a matter of concern, if you're validating my concern that a lot more things are running late, the oil patch isn't moving as fast. You think if people would have an incentive to bid, and I think they have bid very nicely lately, as the mayor pointed out. I'm concerned about this as a longer-term issue. Maybe it's an anomaly, but it seems like things are getting slowed. And I guess I'd like us to when we look at contracting and bidding, to kind of be attentive to that. I certainly would never vote to give Vortex any more city business. I don't know if we can have a blacklist, or if you kind of keep that in mind. Because if I remember correctly, we were obligated to accept the best and lowest bid. And I think the best part of it is the concern for me at this point. So I just wanted to raise that kind of for the record. I'm concerned about that, and I think we should keep that in mind. Thanks.
Just to follow up on Alderman Padragula, because I agree with him, this particular contractor came to my attention, 6 weeks ago perhaps, when Alderman Franzfeld asked me to go with him to look at the work being done on 8th Street Northeast, and both he and I were frankly appalled at the lack of work and the imposition that was on the citizens that lived in that neighborhood. And that's when I called Mr. Jonasson and discussed my opinion of the project at that point. And so I'm really familiar with this, and this company, and they are very disappointing. And frankly, I'm glad that we're at this point so that we can get that project finished and those people can have their street back and access to their homes. So, but I
Thank you.
agree with you
Thank
that monitoring this is going to be critical. Any further discussion on the staff recommendation? Call the roll.
Janser,
Yes.
Cozen,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shamento,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withus,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Motion passes. Alderman Schuler has additional other business, and then I'll come to,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There were 2 more bid openings that happened today that affected Public Works. I believe everybody should have a copy. The first one that I'll address was on 3rd Avenue and 10th Street. There were 6 bids that were received. 5 of them were opened, 1 not due to irregularity. And I would like to move the staff recommendation to approve the $225,654.02 bid by Meyer Contracting on this one.
Second.
seconded by Janser, moved by Schuler, seconded by Janser. Discussion? Discussion? Call the roll.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shamento, Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withus,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Coulson,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Motion passes.
And the
Alderman
ne-
Schuler?
Thank you very much. The next bid was the storm sewer outfall televising and inspection. There were 2 bids received. One was far lower and was considered the lower and best bid for PACE. I would like to recommend approval for the bid of $240,088.85 by PACE Construction.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Olson. Mr. Jonason, could you come forward for a second, please? Is that a typo?
Mr. Mayor, if you're referring to the one bid of almost $3 million and the other one of
240,000?
$240,000, no, that's not a typo. That was the bid that was submitted by Kemper Construction.
Okay, not wanting to look a gift horse in the mouth, do you believe that that amount by PACE is adequate for that project?
Mr. Mayor, we do. The engineer's estimate on this was about $266,000.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Jonason?
Just one quick.
Mr. Sitma?
Have we worked with PACE, PACE out of buildings before?
Mr. Jonason?
Mr. Mayor, Alderman Sitma, we haven't not worked with them. The engineers, the PACE was here for the pre-bid meeting that we had, and the engineers have checked all their references. They appear to be a reputable company.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Jonason? Any further discussion? Thank you, Mr. Jonason. Any further discussion? Call the roll.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shamento, Sitma,
Yes.
Straight,
Yes.
Withus,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Coulson,
Yes.
Laner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula.
Yes.
Thank you, Alderman Schuler. Alderman Straight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to be brief because I recognize that everyone is warm. Alderman Schuler and I have been discussing some of our blighted property issues here in town. The challenges with city staff. We have about 30 properties that are in this Category 9 designation that can't be torn down. I think we all recognize the challenges with eminent domain proceedings, and then we have another 40 properties that might move to eminent domain proceedings for deconstruction at some point. We recognize there are some serious challenges with these projects. I see Mr. Turnus in the audience, and how we have residents calling us, paying full property tax values with blighted properties right next door. We're 5 years in. I'm not sure what else we can do, but I would like to work with our city attorney and take a look at the ordinances that are currently on the books to see if there's a way that we can strengthen these, to bring something back to you all next month to further this conversation in a meaningful fashion, if you will. I guess I'm not looking for a motion tonight,
You need a
but
motion for that? Do you want her to draft something?
Absolutely. Tonight,
Make a
Mr. Mayor,
motion.
I would like to make a motion that we draft and take a look at our language to support city staff and support the residents of Minot who are living next to blighted properties in a way that we can move some of these properties more judiciously forward to some resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Padragula. Question?
Mr. Mayor and Alderman Straight, any specific ordinances that
yes.
you're wanting strengthened?
I could
or
cite,
ideas?
I would like to look at section 9-11-2, the dangerous building ordinance sections and dangerous building ordinance sections that apply to the health and safety issues under section 9-11, section 4, or section 9-11, paragraph 5. I guess that's probably what that is. I can show them to you so we can be on the same page.
Okay. Further discussion? Further discussion? Call the roll?
Straight,
Yes.
Withers,
Yes.
Berg,
Yes.
Franzfog,
Yes.
Hedberg, Janser,
Yes.
Cozen,
Yes.
Lehner,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pankow,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Schuler,
Yes.
Shimento, Sitma.
Yes.
Motion passes. I believe, is there any other business? Alderman Straight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one more. I can't let the opportunity go by. I just want to take a couple minutes tonight to recognize Mr. Maurice Foley, Mr. Ryan Ackerman's in the room, Mr. Dan Jonason, and Miss Cindy Hemphill. 2 weeks ago, Alderman Sitma and myself and Mr. Walski in the audience attended a State Water Commission meeting to support the city staff work and the people that have been working on our flood protection for the city of Minot. And that was an insightful meeting for myself. Mr. Foley did a fantastic job lobbying on behalf, and with Ms. Hemphill filling in for Mr. Ackerman and Mr. Jonason, who were away in St. Paul lobbying for the Corps of Engineers for more support, our local cost share for flood protection decreased from 60-40 to 65-35. And these might seem like numbers to everyone, but that's an additional $50 million for our community. And I just do not want to let this opportunity go by to thank these people. Your dedication, your effort does not go unnoticed. 5 years ago, our community was heavily damaged as a result of the flood. I sit before you having rebuilt 4 family homes and realize that together we have a great deal to be proud of. The naysayers, skeptics will say we could be further along in our flood protection and flood preparedness. However, I personally want to thank these staff members and Mr. Ackerman for their tireless work on behalf of our community. Thank you. We are better off as a result of your work and dedication, and I can't imagine where we would be without your efforts. However, thanks from my standpoint is not enough. What I realized during that Water Commission meeting chaired by Governor Dalrymple was that we, City Council, need to do more. After the election, I asked Mr. Jonason and Mr. Ackerman what I could do to aid their efforts as a new elected official. They both stated separately and forcefully, attend the meetings, which I think is hilarious. We have Water Commission meeting again, I think it's October 12th. I'd encourage any of you on this body that could attend that. It'd be very important. I recognize our city is in a historic transition. We have a great opportunity before us. Tomorrow we have a committee meeting to look at our government transition. Alderman Pankow has been looking on zoning ordinances. Alderman Hedberg, Withers, and Sitma are looking to update our alcohol ordinances. Ms. Schuler and myself have been discussing the blighted property issue. I recognize all of you are spending a tremendous amount of time on behalf of our city, and I appreciate it. Now I would like to ask you for a little bit more. I'd like to make a motion tonight to ask for your unanimous support to form a committee to study our current sales tax structure and to study if more dollars can be allocated for flood protection, but not at the expense of the community of economic development, because the city of Minot needs to grow. In my opinion, this addresses a number of important issues for our community. First, this came up at the Water Commission meeting that that we would possibly come back as a body and raise taxes. And it's so absurd to me that we would even promote this idea. I want to stand unequivocally and say that we're not going to raise or even talk about raising taxes for the citizens of Minot. But I think that we can look at that half penny of sales tax for flood control and see and study if there is more that we could allocate. This would have to go before the people in June, and clearly now is the time, in my estimation. We also open a dialogue about how we are spending our city dollars. There's a lot of concern about some of these arenas, and people want to talk about sunsets in terms of what are we going to do when some of these tax dollars, say, for Ward County go away. It's an important conversation that I think to have, and I think because we are approving our budget tonight, Ms. Hemphill does a great job of conservatively forecasting and estimating what we have for a budget. She is a pivotal piece that can help us set our community on a more open and sound financial footing for the next couple of years. I'd like to see, I see Ms. Holfert in the audience. I would love to see her on this committee. I spoke just briefly tonight with our Chamber of Commerce President, Mr. McMartin. I would love to see someone like that and other business leaders on a committee that would study this issue. We need to convey a better business climate, obviously, here in the city of Minot, that we're open for business. We need growth. Clearly, we need to look at some of our permitting and some of those processes to support businesses in town. But I think now is the time to talk about this. And finally, I want to convey to both the Water Commission and Minot residents, and particularly those on the east side of town, that we hear your concerns. Excuse me. Yes, with the first 4 phases of flood protection, 65% of Minot residents will be removed from future flood maps. However, residents on the east side are not part of those first 4 phases. We want to push for not only a better deal with our State Water Commission, if some of us will go down, if we can lobby more and support city staff for that 75-25 and get 70-30, that's $50 more million for our community. We want to push for not only a better deal with our Water Commission, but to create a unified vision for the future of Minot. It's a critical year of transition, and I think this is an important topic to talk about. I appreciate you sticking in here tonight, but with that, I'd like to make a motion and ask that you support forming a committee to review sales tax and how we fund flood protection in this community to see if we can find more money for flood protection.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
I'm sorry, I missed it. Hedberg? Discussion? Discussion?
I'll just add one short piece to it. I think the biggest piece that Mr. Straight is talking about through the 4 phases, not only flood protection, but what the economic fallout would be when flood insurance rates come down the line. I think we're going to hear a lot more about that in the next coming weeks and months for the people to be aware of that, and that's where I'll leave it.
Alderman Padragula?
I also want to go on record supporting a look at this and to thank Alderman Straight for his passion and emotion. It's nice to see someone else showing emotion. I was once young and had a beard and black hair and a black beard. So I'm glad to see there's someone else following along. But very seriously, I mean, that is a serious comment. But I think we really do need to look at funding it. It's obvious that not a whole lot of money is going to come from the federal government. The state has its own worries. We're going to have to step up to the plate. But I want to be very cognizant of our investment in economic development, our ongoing investment, and we can't rob Peter to pay Paul. So I think we have to look at this in a creative, systematic fashion. I wanted to thank Alderman Straight for making that motion and say I will support it.
Further discussion? Alderman Straight and I have had several conversations along these lines, and I think that it's always good to reassess the priorities of the community. I don't know where we'll end up, but I think it's also important to recognize that the eastern part of the community, we haven't forgotten about you. It's just that this portion is the low-hanging fruit that we're trying to take advantage of. But It is a comprehensive flood plan from border to border, and our partners with the Souris River Joint Board continuously remind us that this is not a Minot plan, it's a North Dakota plan and a basin-wide plan. So I appreciate Alderman Straight bringing that forward, reminding people that we have not forgotten about it, but we need to keep moving forward. All right, any further discussion on the motion? Call the roll.
Straight?
Yes.
Withis?
Yes.
Berg?
Yes.
Franzvog?
Yes.
Hedberg? Yes. Janser?
Yes.
Kosen?
Yes.
Lehner?
Yes.
Olson?
Yes.
Pankow?
Yes.
Padragula?
Yes.
Schuler?
Yes.
Shimento? Sitma?
Yes.
Any other business to come before us tonight?
Mr. Mayor?
Alderman Lehner.
Move adjournment.
No, Alderman with the, did you have additional
Move
business?
adjournment.
Okay. All right. Moved by Lehner, seconded by Withus. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, we're adjourned. And
Open the windows.
oh, my word, it's so hot. How can you